Hi, welcome and thank you for joining Edmentum's Getting Started for Teachers in Exact Path. My name is Jocelyn and I am a customer success consultant here at Edmentum. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and take us into our agenda. So today, just in case that you don't have a background on it, I want to talk about our exact path overview. Then I want to go over our diagnostic analysis. I want to talk about understanding the learning paths and the knowledge map. I want to review my classes. I want to talk about reporting, and then I want to talk about our support. And at this point, we would usually have a Q&A, but since this is a recorded session, I want to make sure that you have access to my contact information just in case you have any questions. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about Exact Path. So just in case you don't have a super big background, if you weren't in these sales meetings, Exact Path is focused on understanding where your students are. So it's identifying strengths and weaknesses for each student, and then we take that data and we take it a step further and we create a learning path out of it. This learning path offers targeted instruction that aligns to your goals, pays to your students' need, and is structured to give students control over their own education journey. So this provides the following features. It has an adaptive assessment, additional K through 2 fluency assessments, individualized learning paths. That's the exact path, right? Built-in motivational tools, guided data visualization and progress monitoring, third-party assessment integrations. We do integrate with NWEA and RenStar. So if you already have um, worked with NWEA and RenStar, we can integrate with those tests and curriculum support resources. So these features have been constructed to provide a uniquely intuitive user experience for both educators and your students. So these features include, of course, the diagnostic assessment. This assessment was created by subject experts and psychometricians to provide a norm referenced picture of student performance. Each assessment offers a unique experience that dynamically responds to in the moment student responses in order to measure student mastery across each subject domain. These assessments, of course, lead to an individualized learning path. So, whether students are working on, below, or above grade level, all learners will receive what is kind of like a tailored playlist of content that's just right for them. This will include a competency based progression of instruction. Um, Assessments, those are progress checks that come every four lessons on the learning path, and performance tests to help reinforce learning and help students achieve mastery. We also have some cool educator tools. Educators receive notifications in real time as to where their attention is needed most, along with instructional recommendations so that you know where you need to be and how you can best help your students learn. You also have access to a cool grouping tool, which day to day helps collate your data in a way that essentially creates small groups for you. Our hope for you with data visualization is that viewing your data will not require a translator. I don't want you to have to call in and, it needs to be transparent so that you have a way to talk about it with all involved parties. So your students' data should be easy to view. So we've created what we hope is really, really intuitive data. Educators should be able to slice and dice diagnostic assessment data from the district level all the way down to the student level. Data tools also reflect student performance according to a skill and grade appropriate progression in order to show a big picture view of individual academic mastery. So the way this works is, for example, we have Alex, Olivia, and Ben. Alex, Olivia, and Ben are all sixth graders. So their first question is going to be kind of at the tippy top of fifth grade. And we're going to see if that get that one right. Alex here in blue, Alex got that correct. So his next question is going to be a little bit harder. And the next question will be a little bit harder because he got this one right as well. He didn't get this one right, so the next question will be a little bit easier. And what we're trying to do as we go through is find the floor and ceiling. And we're doing that for individual skills within the subject as well. Likewise, Ben here, Ben got his first question wrong, his second question wrong, his third question wrong, and then his fourth question right. So That's when we're starting to discover where those are. As we're going through, we're also looking for skill gaps, especially in these highly spiralized topics, right? What this means to you as an educator is that we have to make sure that our students know that this is not a test that you can get 100% on. They are going to be asked questions that are too hard for them. That is the goal. We need to see the ceiling. They're going to be asked what questions are too easy for them. That is also the goal. We need to find the floor. Um, so as they're going through, any kind of question could come up. We're trying to figure some stuff out here. At the end, we'll figure out where that learning path begins, where those skills that need to be filled in are, and where they can be enriched. So I am currently in a demo account that looks like an account where students have done the first diagnostic test and then they've done nothing else. Um, so you'll see there's no notifications or anything like that. In this hypothetical implementation, my administrator created the classes for me. They did all the rostering and they scheduled the first diagnostic test. I'll go over in a little bit how to do that, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at this data and we'll talk about the diagnostic assessment and then the learning path. So I'm going to come over here to math right up here. And you'll see this is where I would schedule that diagnostic test if I were able to, but I'm going to come right over here to diagnostics. And you're going to see right away, I have so much data right off the bat that tells me a lot of what I need to know. This is a great place to start a school year, right? So right away, I know that I have 5 students functioning below grade level out of my 13 students. Wouldn't that be nice, a classroom with 13 students? 54% are on grade level, and then 8% or 1 student is above grade level. So let's take a look at this. We have a scale score that I'm going to bring up on the screen here. And so these can be found in the Help Center. So if you just click the Help Center and then go to the online help and then go to diagnostic results, these cut scores will all be there for you to view. But it shows me based on color coding where students are at. So I know based on color coding that Rhonda Ball, she is on grade level all the way across. She's right there in the middle. And it'll show you that below grade is up to 1056. This is for 6th grade. Below grade is up to 1056. Above grade is 1179 or below. And 1057 or above is on grade level. So that information is all right here for you based on the grade level that your students were imported as. So I see that she's on grade level all the way across. Archie Bell, though, he's also overall on grade level, but he's above grade level on algebra and expressions and actually below grade level on numbers and operations. So he's missing some skills here. He could really use maybe just a little bit of intervention in this particular area. And then he's doing great on fractions and ratios. So what Exact Path does is it comes in and it really digs into these skill gaps that students may have acquired over the years, especially in these highly spiralized subjects like math, right? Um, we can also come down here and we can take a look at Betsy Snyder, and she's kind of struggling across the board. She's kind of way down here. So we know right away that Betsy may overall just need intervention across the board. She may need to be working at a lower grade level. And Exact Path is going to assign her a learning path that has her at a lower grade level than her peers. And it's not going to tell Betsy that she's at a lower grade level than her peers. Every student will have their own learning path. They won't be able to see any of this raw data that kind of would out that. But in instances where you may need to show parents data, or maybe we are discussing a single student and we just don't want that whole class, we can come and click the student and this will load up, and we have a nice little printable report right here that shows exactly where she is on all of her skills. When the student starts going through the learning path, and again, I haven't um, had any students go through the learning path in this hypothetical implementation here, I would start to see the trophies that they've earned. Students earn trophies when they complete progress checks and earn skills along with the skills that she's learned. So I can come in here and I can come skill by skill and see exactly where Rhonda is. And this will also appear on the knowledge map. So we have all of this data available to you. And this data is also available in reading and language arts. Any diagnostic that the student has taken, all of that data is right there, nice and easy to access. So now that we've kind of gone over the diagnostic, I want to show you the learning path. So when a student finishes their diagnostic, they are assigned a learning path. And so this is what it looks like on your end before a student has begun their learning path. And I'm going to pop up on screen to show you what it looks like when they've gone through a little bit. As you can see, this is nice and color coded. We have green for complete, orange for struggling, and blue for still practicing. But this learning path is very interactive. So if I were to come in and click here, I could see the lesson that students are working on. I could see how many times she has attempted this lesson. I can see the amount of times that she has attempted this practice. And I can see the amount of times that she has attempted this mastery quiz. Likewise, I also have some additional resources for Rhonda. So if I know that Rhonda has struggled on it, if she's coming up in orange as struggling, I can come in and I can come through and we can take a look at maybe some of these resources. I can go through these videos with her. I can run through a worksheet with her. I could even come over here, send her to Study Island if we also have Study Island. And I've got a lesson idea for myself. Let's take a look at this. I think they're cool. I like the lesson ideas. Um, so there's a whole cool little lesson plan here for you to talk about this particular skill. And this is all available to you in the learning path. You can, of course, also see your standard coverage right there. So as students go through their learning path, if they are K through 2, they will have to do in order like this, right? But third grade and above, we want to give them a little bit of agency, a little bit of freedom, so students can decide which of these to work on first. So Rhonda, if she wanted, could do real world problems and then she could add and subtract decimals. And then she could multiply and divide decimals and then she could do units of measure, whichever way she wants to do that. Whenever she's completed all four, she's going to be brought to a progress check. And this progress check will assign a trophy for every skill that she has mastered. So if at that point Rhonda on the progress check, she gets add and subtract decimals. She masters that. She gets the trophy. She gets multiply and divide decimals. She's mastered that. She earns the trophy. She doesn't do super great at real world problems. She does not earn that trophy, but she does get it for units of measure. On the next one, on the next part of her learning path, she is going to move on to representing and interpreting data. She's going to move on to volume. She's going to come back and she's going to get real world problems again, and then she'll get arithmetic with decimals. So that's how the progress, or that's how the learning path works. The way that we came to this information, how we know where our students are, is based on the knowledge map right here. So we're going to come over to this knowledge map. And you can see this knowledge map, despite all of my students being in 6th grade, this knowledge map starts at 3rd grade. So we can see most of these students have been placed above all the way here, or they assessed above. So we have this key up here. So we can see all the way across where our students are practicing. And this is basically where they've been placed. We can see This goes all the way up to 8th grade for our 6th graders. But for example, we mentioned earlier that Betsy Snyder was a struggling student. She had been placed below. So she has her learning map begins all the way down here in 3rd grade at two-step real-world problems. And if I click this again, I see exactly where she's at. I see the lesson that she's been assigned along with the practice that she's been assigned there. And again, I have those resources and the standard coverage. All of that information is available to you right away. And again, if I click, I come back to that student summary report. So I have all of this information. I can also click and I can see a little bit more about that particular skill. So next up on our agenda was My Classes. So when you first come to My Classes, you're going to come to this completely empty, in my case, notification page, but we also have groups, content search, assignments, challenges, and manage classes. So I'm going to actually start over here in manage classes. And in most cases, your classes will probably have been created for you by your administrator. But if for some reason that's not the case in your situation, all you need to do to create your own classes is just click Create a Class. You can also edit your class all through here or delete your class if needed, just like that. So I'll walk you through creating a class. And it's super simple. You'll just name your class. I like to name them super intentionally so that I don't ever get lost. And I like to put a year on them just in case. You don't have to associate it with a grade level, but you can if you want. Here, you can search for your students. Or you can just select them from the drop down or from the menu, whatever works for you here. When you have found all of your kids, you hit Save Class and you're good to go. And your class has been created. We also have student settings here. Again, in most cases, you probably won't be using student settings. This will be something that your administrator will choose for you. But in most cases, 6th to 12th grade students have a certain interface that's a little bit more mature than the 3 to 5, which is a little bit more mature than the K through 2. So if you have found that maybe it's not developmentally appropriate for somebody who is listed as a 6th grader to have the 6th grade interface, you can change that here. That is where that is located. Next up, I want to take you to groups. So we're going to come to groups here on the left-hand side, or sorry, in the top-hand navigation. And I'm going to come over to language arts and I'm going to select the domain of language. So I have automatically been given some suggestions for groups based off of where my students are. So I'm going to hit auto group students and create these new groups. So automatically this has grouped my students up into students who are below grade level, students who are above grade level, and students who are on grade level. This is also completely open for you. This is not necessarily something that you have to take. Let's say we know that Joe is really above grade level. She was maybe just slacking on her diagnostic. I can move Joe over. And Tasha. Let's say I know that what we're working on today, Muriel isn't necessarily the best at. I can move Muriel and Rhonda back over into this group. So I can then name these groups and oh, there we go. Ah, I promise I know how to use this program. All right. And so I can name these groups and I can also use this as kind of like a OneNote just to put my plan of action for today. So Eagles begin at exact path. Bears begin with me. If I were setting up a station rotation, tigers begin at reading. Whatever works for you guys. This will be here for you, and it's just meant to be sort of a living document to be updated. But it's nice. It helps you group your students up. It really helps you differentiate nice and quick and gives you a great place to do so. Once your students are kind of in on their knowledge maps, we can get a little farther in. I'm not going to have necessarily the same sort of grouping here because I just have the diagnostic here, but I could even just do it by verbs. So I could say, hey, in verbs, these students have all assessed above, these students have placed above. Placed is just the teacher manually moved them. So, however you would like to do that. All of that is available for you. Next up is the content search. So, we're going to come right here to content search. And this is great. This is a place that you can find things to assign your students. So when you're looking for the stuff to assign, this is content search. When you're looking for the stuff you already have assigned, this is assignments. So let's say we're again working in language arts. We're working on grade level today in the language, and we're going to do verbs. Let's go. So I have stuff that I can automatically assign my students right here just based off of that content search. I'm going to click assign. I'm going to choose my class. I can remove students, or sorry, I can add students like this or remove them just like that and assign that to my students. Now, when my students log in, this will come up on their end under assignments, and it'll be listed as a special assignment for them to do outside of their learning path. Next up, we have assignments. This is where our assignments that we have given go. So I'm not looking at the right class. I believe I just assigned it to ELAR. So I'll be able to see which of my students have finished it. And I can click in here and I can see their scores and things. Now again, there's no data in here because the students clearly haven't gone in, but you'll be able to see the amount of time they spent on it, which is very important. You know, if they spent 30 seconds, they maybe probably didn't work on it too hard. And then their score. You can also edit the assignment there if you want. That leaves on this page challenges. Now there are two types of challenges. And we'll go to create a new challenge because I don't have any yet. And so you would title this challenge. Some people do it by the week. I might put 3/14/2019 challenge. Some people like to have monthly challenges. However you want to do this for your classroom. This is a way for you to incentivize your classroom. So there are two types of challenge, like I mentioned. There's time spent and number of trophies earned. So like I mentioned earlier, trophies are what students earn when they complete a progress check successfully. When you're first starting out, I feel like time spent is a good one. As you go into your implementation, you'll need to do number of trophies earned because what we see is students going back and just going through the lesson again and again and again in order to get that time spent. And they don't necessarily move forward on their learning path. They have to move on to number of trophies earned in these challenges. So if we're being absurd, let's say you could earn 2 trophies over the 1 day challenge. That's not reasonable, but it's what I'm putting right now. Then we can add our description and select a reward badge for students to receive. There are all sorts of reward badges here. I like these because it implies that you're going to get some ice cream or maybe a pizza party if it's like a big reward challenge or popcorn, whatever you want to do here. Again, this is a way to incentivize your students. They get this badge, they get to hold on to that badge. You can print it out, all good stuff. So you'll just add your students, or sorry, students will be automatically added. You can go in and exclude your students, and then you'll hit Save Changes. So that sums up challenges. Last on the agenda today are exact path reports. I don't want to spend too much time on reports because these are one of those things that's very particular as to what you'll actually need as you go through. That being said, I can say that there are two main reports that you're going to use, and the first one here is probably the performance growth trends. This is one that your administrator may use more than you. You also have your domain score trends, the assessment skill placement, and the diagnostic results export. These are all just different versions of the data that I've already shown you. So that data is already available to you. It's in the learning path, it's in the knowledge map, but it's also right here. So from test to test, you can take a look. You can choose your academic year, you can choose your subject, you can choose overall performance or a particular domain, you can choose a grade or all grades, you can choose the school, the grade level, and view reports. So you can see that in my hypothetical implementation, that in my first diagnostic, I had 30 students below grade level, 51 students on grade level, and 19 students above. And now I've got 21% above grade level, 58% on grade, and 21% above grade. So we've pulled a lot of students back onto grade level. So that's awesome. It's a great implementation there. Another report you might use a lot is we'll come over here to the skills report, and we're actually going to look at the learning path progress. So we can choose either summary or detail. I'm going to choose summary. And again, we'll choose our academic year. We'll choose our start date for this report. So this is how much progress they've made in this period right here. And I'll choose today as the end date. And then you can choose your subject or all, and then you can choose all classes or select my classes, and then view report. So again, my students haven't actually done anything, but you can see what you can see. We have time on task. Again, very important. We want to know that the time on task is appropriate to everything else. I've seen an implementation before where students here had just this enormous time on task and then an enormous number of activities done and then a very small number of skills assessed on progress check. That's not what we want. This is obviously not going to be a one-to-one, but we kind of want everything to look appropriate, right? Likewise, I've also seen implementations where the total time on system versus the time on task are super duper wide. So again, that's something else we need to be looking at. But we have all of this information available to you. That pretty much is as far into reports as I would like to go into an introduction in ExactPath. But if you have any further questions about reports or getting the data that you need, please feel free to reach out to me or to our support center. And with that said, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to talk a little bit about our help center. We have a ton of stuff in our help center. A lot of resources can be found in the online help EP. If you ever have any suggestions for us, you can put it in C-Hive. That goes straight to our product department. And you can also reach out to our support department. So I'm going to pull up our support department's number on screen, and I'm also going to put my email, my department's email, along with support's email, of course, so that you can reach out to me if you have any questions about this session. Your time is very valuable. Thank you so much for joining. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.